Hey everyone, this is a clip from a recent episode of the Men of Steel podcast, where we talk about Superman and Superman-adjacent topics. If you enjoy this clip, check out the podcast. You can find it at certainpov.com or wherever you get your shows.
Yeah, they get some really good character sprites in there. Like the Rambo character is a character from the comics, and it looks just like when Bogdanov or when Grummet draws that character. Like it's the blue goat man character, and he looks perfect. And then you get Closter, and he also looks perfect. And in fact, I would argue looks better than Doomsday.
He kind of did, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the sprite definitely had more detail. I think it's just interesting how Geoff and I talk about this and sometimes bicker about this with guests even, about how sprite art is better than 3D art. And I don't know that that's necessarily true, but I feel like there's just something to the aesthetic of pixel art that, look, I love The Last of Us like anybody else. It's topical, it's timely, and those games look gorgeous. But there's just something about it. It's like, yeah, it looks real. Great. I feel like there's more artistry to pixel art because you have to be more creative. It's that whole limitations conversation again. And I'm not saying that artists who create 3D rendered realistic humans aren't creating art. It's just, for me, I see the art in pixel art more because of the limitations and having to get creative on how to make things stand out.
And I think that mostly plays through if you're talking about likenesses. You can get extremely creative with 3D environments, but if you're trying to create some kind of a likeness, whether realistic or based off of a comic book or whatever else, I would wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah. And there's something to be said for the Uncanny Valley in terms of well, if you're trying to make it look real, you're going to keep getting closer, but you have to do tricks to make your eyes not reject it versus pixel art, it's further away from that line, so it can just be fine. And this one's also not trying to look like a real person, it's trying to look like comic book art.
Correct.
There's specifically spots, the cutscenes that are in here are almost perfect recreation of panels from the comics.
Absolutely.
I mean, 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
Not many of them, but
Yes.
they are almost perfect, the ones that they have.
Yeah. I mean, something that we talked about design-wise, too, is not only is the pixel art great, and those stills are great, but the individual versions of spoiler alert, I guess, for a very old comic and a very old game,
Gosh.
Yeah.
For a nearly 30-year-old storyline.
God, I'm so old. Superman dies, and then other Supermen rise in his place, and, you could just do kind of colored palette swaps for some of these, especially Eradicator, who has the same kind of frame as Superman, but they don't. They redesign the sprites for each character. Some of them are bigger, smaller, and we commented on how, when you're playing as Eradicator, all their super moves look different. They effectively do the same thing. They're screen clear, but Eradicator rises to the center of the screen, everything goes dark. It's just, that's the extra step that I think makes this game worth playing and experiencing, even if you're doing it with codes and Game Genie, because those aesthetic choices are really great and really cool to see, because most games of the time would just do, it's a screen clear, who cares what it looks like? But they really leaned into how each individual version of Superman would do those abilities.
And they're different walk cycles, different attack cycles, different attack ranges even, that show we can sit here and kind of go, they really couldn't create more art, they couldn't do whatever else. There's a very clear vein of love that goes throughout this, and wherever it can show itself, whether they didn't think it was important elsewhere, they didn't have the time or expertise or whatever else, certainly in the design of Superman and the 4 Supermen, of Steel, of Superboy, of Cyborg Superman, and of the Eradicator, that all show a clear passion for this. And if nothing else, it makes me wonder and hanker for something deeper, something more of this.
Remember, if you like the clip, after you're done liking and subscribing, check out certainpov.com, where you can find more episodes of the show, as well as a ton of other great shows.